Hello everyone and welcome. Today we're diving headfirst into one of the world's most bewildering contradictions, Iran's unique position at the intersection of global energy and international politics. You might know Iran for its ancient history, dazzling architecture, or, if you're anything like me, its ability to dominate headlines with both oil prices and nuclear negotiations. But beneath those headlines lies a story packed with intrigue, paradox, and a surprising amount of economic head-scratching. Now, before we unravel this mystery, I'd love to know, where in the world are you watching this video from? Go on, let everyone know in the comments below. Are you tuning in from a country that buys Iranian oil? Or maybe from a place that sanctioned it right into the economic penalty box? Either way, your perspective matters, so don't be shy. Today's video will go beyond the oil rigs and the sanctions. We'll uncover why a nation rich in natural resources finds itself struggling under economic pressure, and more importantly, we'll dig into the real source of Iran's enduring power. So, settle in, crank up that YouTube studio background music, and let's get started on this wild ride through wealth, politics, and power. Let's start with a simple fact. Iran is sitting on the world's fourth largest proven oil reserves and the second largest reserves of natural gas. If nations were students in a classroom, Iran would be the kid with a backpack bursting with snacks while everyone else is rationing their lunch money. Its strategic location, nestled between the Caspian Sea and the Persian Gulf, means it's perfectly placed to play middleman, or sometimes mischief maker, in the global energy market. But here's where things get weird. Despite all that wealth, Iran's economy is, to put it gently, a hot mess. We're talking economic instability, a currency that falls faster than my self-esteem at a high school reunion, and inflation rates that would make even Venezuela wince. How does a country so rich in resources land itself in such dire straits? Spoiler alert. It's not just bad luck. Much of Iran's economic chaos can be traced back to one word: sanctions. The US and its allies have slapped Iran with a dazzling array of economic restrictions over the years, all in an effort to curb its nuclear ambitions and, I suspect, to keep international lawyers employed. These sanctions target Iran's banks, oil exports, and foreign investments, effectively choking off the country's main sources of revenue. But sanctions alone don't tell the whole story. See, Iran's government has a bit of a spending problem. Instead of investing oil revenues in things like infrastructure, schools, or, I don't know, pothole repair, billions have vanished into the black hole of government mismanagement and corruption. The result? Chronic underinvestment in key sectors, crumbling factories, and a job market that's about as inviting as a cactus in a sandstorm. And then there's inflation. Oh boy, is there inflation. In the last decade, prices for everyday goods have soared, while salaries have lagged behind like an exhausted marathon runner. The Iranian rial, once a source of national pride, has become so devalued that people joke about weighing bills instead of counting them. That's less funny money, and, more funny, I can't afford bread. Let's not forget the protests. In recent years, Iranians from all walks of life, teachers, truck drivers, retirees, have taken to the streets. Their grievances range from skyrocketing food prices to unpaid wages, and a general sense that the country's riches are being squandered. These aren't isolated incidents. They're flare-ups in a society that's painfully aware of the gap between its natural wealth and its economic reality. But it hasn't always been this way. There was a time not so long ago when Iran was one of the region's economic powerhouses. The 1970s saw a rapidly modernizing country, flush with oil cash and boasting impressive infrastructure projects. Tehran's skyline rose, universities flourished, and Iranians enjoyed a standard of living that was the envy of their neighbors. Everything changed after the 1979 Islamic Revolution. The overthrow of the Shah shifted Iran's economic trajectory dramatically. The new government nationalized industries, including oil, and established a system that prioritized ideological goals over economic efficiency. In theory, this was supposed to benefit ordinary Iranians. In practice, it created new problems and entrenched a bureaucracy that was, at best, unresponsive and, at worst, spectacularly corrupt. Fast forward to today, and the legacy of those decisions is all too clear. Iran's oil infrastructure is aging, underfunded, and often in desperate need of repair. Foreign companies, wary of sanctions, hesitate to invest. Even when sanctions are lifted, like during the brief window after the 2015 nuclear deal, the flood of money expected never quite arrives. It's like inviting everyone to a party, only to realize you're out of snacks and the music is just your neighbor's dog barking. Meanwhile, Iran's youthful population, one of the youngest in the Middle East, faces a job market with few prospects. Unemployment is high, especially among graduates. Many talented Iranians choose to leave, searching for opportunity abroad. This brain drain only deepens the country's woes, as the best and brightest slip away. But perhaps the most bizarre twist in Iran's economic story is the persistence of subsidies. The government spends billions each year to keep fuel, bread, and other essentials artificially cheap. While this sounds like a good thing, it's actually a double-edged sword. Subsidies strain the budget, reward smuggling, and often benefit the wealthy more than the poor. It's the economic equivalent of putting a band-aid on a bullet wound. And yet, for all these challenges, Iran's leaders have managed to maintain a surprising level of stability, at least for now. The government's grip on power is tight, and its ability to suppress dissent is, frankly, impressive in the most depressing way possible. But the cracks are showing and the pressure is mounting. The question is, how long can this balancing act last? To really understand that, we need to look beyond economics and into the heart of Iran's power structure, because as we'll see in the next chapter, the real story isn't just about oil or money. It's about who holds the reins, and how they keep them in their hands. So, who actually runs Iran? If you answered the president, you're technically correct. If by president you mean a guy who reads speeches while someone else holds the remote, because the true center of power in Iran is the supreme leader, a position currently held by Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Imagine if your country's top religious figure was also your commander-in-chief, chief justice, and, for good measure, chief Instagram influencer. That's the level of influence we're talking about. Ayatollah Khamenei isn't just a ceremonial figure. He has the final say on all major state matters, from military decisions to media censorship. He controls the armed forces, oversees the judiciary, and appoints the heads of key institutions. If Iran's government were a puppet show, Khamenei would be the guy with all the strings, occasionally yanking them just to make sure everyone remembers who's boss. Backing him up is the Guardian Council, a 12-member body of Islamic jurists who review every law passed by parliament and vet candidates for public office. Think of them as an elite admissions committee, except instead of college essays, they're judging your ideological purity and willingness to toe the party line. Unsurprisingly, this doesn't make for a particularly vibrant democracy, but the real magic happens in Iran's shadowy, semi-official economic sector. Enter the Bonyads, massive charitable foundations that control huge swathes of the economy. Originally set up to help the poor, many Bonyads have morphed into opaque financial empires with little oversight. They own everything from banks to factories to shopping malls. If you've ever wondered where Iran's missing oil money goes, there's a good chance it's hiding in a Bonyad's balance sheet. Then there's the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or IRGC. Ostensibly a military organization, the IRGC is more like a state within a state. They run businesses, control ports, build roads, and, oh yes, have their own armed forces. The IRGC's economic influence is so vast, it's been estimated to control up to a third of Iran's entire economy. That's not just having a finger in every pie, it's more like baking the pies, selling the pies, and arresting you if you complain about the flavor. This complex web of power, Supreme Leader, Guardian Council, Bonyads, IRGC, makes Iran's political system unique and uniquely difficult to reform. Every institution is designed to reinforce the others, creating a self-perpetuating elite that's remarkably resistant to change. It's as if the system's motto is, "We've got this, thanks, no need for outside help, or inside help, or any help really." Meanwhile, ordinary Iranians often find themselves squeezed between competing centers of authority. Is the parliament in charge? Sometimes. Is the president? Occasionally. Is it the supreme leader? Always. This constant power struggle breeds confusion, inefficiency, and, not infrequently, despair. It's like trying to play chess when your opponent keeps moving the pieces off the board. And yet, despite these complexities, Iran's leadership has proven remarkably adept at weathering crises. From war with Iraq in the 1980s to the current wave of sanctions, the system adapts and survives. Part of this resilience comes from a deep-seated belief in self-sufficiency, a kind of stubborn pride that's both admirable and, at times, self-defeating. The IRGC, in particular, has become a master of survival. When sanctions bite, they pivot to domestic industries. When foreign investment dries up, they build their own networks. And when public anger threatens to boil over, they use force, propaganda, or a mix of both to maintain control. It's not exactly a recipe for happiness, but it is a recipe for durability. This durability is further reinforced by Iran's control over information. State media tightly controls the narrative, while dissenting voices are often silenced or forced underground. The government's ability to shape public opinion, through both carrot and stick, helps explain why, despite economic hardship, the regime endures. But there are limits to even the most resilient system. As young Iranians grow increasingly frustrated with their lack of opportunities, and as economic pressures mount, the old formulas may not work forever. The recent surge in protests is a warning sign, a signal that beneath the surface, changes are brewing. Another key factor is Iran's regional influence. Through proxies and alliances, the government projects power far beyond its borders. From Lebanon to Yemen, Iran's reach is felt, and sometimes feared. This makes Iran a player that can't be ignored, no matter how battered its economy may be at home. At the heart of it all is a paradox. Iran is both remarkably strong and deeply vulnerable. Its leaders have built a system designed to withstand external pressure, but that very system creates internal weaknesses, economic stagnation, popular discontent, and a constant battle for legitimacy. So, to truly understand Iran, you have to look beyond the headlines and into the machinery of power. The oil and gas are important, sure, but the real story is about who controls them, and for whose benefit. Until that changes, Iran's future will remain as unpredictable as its currency, and that perhaps is the greatest irony of all. A country so rich in resources yet so poor in opportunity, held together by a web of power as intricate and as fragile as a Persian carpet. So, what does the future hold for Iran? Will it manage to break free from the cycle of wealth squandered and opportunity lost, or will the forces of power and resistance keep it locked in place? That, my friends, is a question only time, and perhaps a few more international negotiations can answer. But one thing is clear. Iran's story is far from over, and its next chapter could be the most dramatic yet. I'd love to hear what you think. Is Iran destined for reform, revolution, or something in between? Share your thoughts, predictions, or burning questions in the comments below. Are you hopeful for change or skeptical after decades of déjà vu? Let's get the conversation started. No sanctions required. And before you go, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into global issues just like this. We're here to untangle the world's knottiest questions, one episode at a time. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.